Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never thought I'd be sitting here, trying to make sense of what happened that night. If someone told me a year ago that the man I trusted the most, my husband, could be hiding something so shocking, I would have laughed. But now, I'm not laughing. I'm not even angry. I'm just confused, heartbroken, and honestly, scared of what else I don't know. It all started like any normal night. The kind where everything feels routine, the same dinner conversation, the same smile, the same I love you before bed. But something was different. It was subtle, like a shift in the air that you can't quite explain. His voice was calm, his words soft, but his eyes gave something away. I just didn't realize it then. We were a typical couple, or at least I thought we were. Married for 5 years, ups and downs, but nothing we couldn't handle. We laughed a lot. We shared everything, or so I believed. I trusted him with my life, with my dreams, with every part of me. That night, though, something cracked open. And once it started, I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unhear what I heard. I couldn't unknow what I know now. There's something incredibly painful about being betrayed by someone who still looks at you like they did on your wedding day. It's not just about secrets, it's about the silence that followed. The way he looked away when I asked a simple question. The way his phone suddenly became something he always kept face down. At first, I made excuses. He was tired. Work was stressful. Maybe I was just overthinking. But then I found the message. Just one. It wasn't even what the message said, it was what it didn't say. It was how it made me feel like a stranger in my own marriage. And the worst part? He had no idea I'd seen it. I wanted to confront him, scream, cry, do anything to shake the truth out of him. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed to understand the full story before I said a word. And what I found, well, let's just say, it's not what I expected. It wasn't another woman. It wasn't what most people would assume. It was something deeper, more personal, more complicated. Now I'm sitting here, asking myself, who did I really marry? What else is he hiding? And how long has he been keeping this part of himself away from me? Before I share the rest, I want to know what you think. Have you ever felt like someone you loved was living a double life? Have you ever ignored your gut just to keep the peace? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should I confront him? Should I wait? Vote in the poll below. Your advice might just shape what I do next. The story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing while my mind raced. Every second felt like a lie. Every little moment we'd shared, birthdays, vacations, those quiet nights watching movies on the couch, flashed through my head like a movie I wasn't sure I belonged in anymore. The message I saw was short. Just a few words. But it carried a weight I couldn't ignore. It was from someone named L. That's all it said. Just the initial. No name, no photo. Just, let me know if she finds out. That was it. Simple. Cold. And terrifying. What was he hiding? Who was L? What was I not supposed to find out? For the next few days, I played along. I smiled. I laughed when he made one of his bad jokes. I cooked his favorite meal like everything was fine. But inside, I was pulling threads, quietly unraveling everything I thought I knew about him. I started noticing more things. Like how he locked his phone now, even in the house. How he'd step outside to take calls, even late at night. And how he avoided eye contact just a little too often. I even tried talking to him one night. I asked, "Is everything okay?" He looked at me, surprised. "Yeah, why?" I shrugged, trying to sound casual. "You just seem distracted lately." He kissed my forehead and said, "Just work stuff, babe." Nothing serious. But something in his tone made my stomach twist. That wasn't the voice of someone dealing with spreadsheets. That was the voice of someone hiding something they didn't want you to ever find out. The thing is, we used to talk about everything. Late-night conversations were our thing. We'd sit on the balcony with coffee and share stuff that didn't even matter, just because it felt nice to talk. Now, it felt like he was living on the other side of a wall I couldn't climb over. I started checking small things. His calendar. His emails when he left his laptop open. There was nothing obvious. No secret meeting. No shady names. But the gaps were there, empty spaces in his schedule that didn't add up. Mornings he said he was at the office, but the GPS history said otherwise. Places he never mentioned. Why lie about where you were, unless you had something to hide? I kept wondering if maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was creating a story that didn't exist. But my gut kept saying otherwise. And then came the call. It was a number I didn't recognize. No name. Just a quiet voice asking, "Is this his wife?" I froze. "Who is this?" I asked. The voice hesitated, then said, "I think you should know what's really going on." Before I could ask anything else, the line went dead. Now I had even more questions. Who was that? How did they get my number? What did they know about my husband that I didn't? Something's not right. And I can't shake the feeling that I've only scratched the surface. What do you think? Should I answer if they call again? What would you do in my place? Let me know in the comments. The truth is getting closer, but so is the danger. The next morning, I woke up before him. I just sat there, watching him sleep, wondering how someone could look so peaceful while hiding something so heavy. I didn't know what I was more scared of, that he was cheating, or that it was something worse. There's a kind of silence that screams louder than any fight. That's where we were now, living inside that silence. Later that day, I went to my friend Maya's place. I needed someone to talk to, someone who knew us both. Maya's known me since college, and she always had a sharp sense for reading people. When I told her about the message, the strange phone call, and how he'd been acting lately, she didn't try to calm me down. She just said, "You need to be careful. This doesn't sound like just an affair." I felt a chill run through me. She asked if I ever checked if he was in some kind of trouble, money issues, debts, maybe even something illegal. That thought had crossed my mind, but I pushed it away before. Now, it sat heavy in my chest. I started going back through everything. The time last month when he said he lost his wallet, but never replaced his ID. The random business trip 2 weeks ago that he couldn't explain clearly. And the envelope I once saw in his drawer, thick, sealed, and marked with just a number. No name. No return address. That same evening, I decided to dig deeper. While he was in the shower, I opened his desk drawer again. The envelope was gone. But tucked behind an old notebook, I found a small key. Not a house key, not a car key, something else. It looked like it belonged to a locker. Or maybe a safe. I didn't take it. Not yet. But I kept the notebook. Inside, there were notes. Scribbles. Lists with dates. One page just said, "Keep it quiet. She can't find out." I felt my hands shake. Was this about me? Or someone else? Just then, he called from the bathroom, asking me to bring him a towel. I shoved the notebook back and acted normal, but my heart was racing. What was I getting pulled into? This wasn't just a secret. This was a hidden life. And now there was a new question. Who else knew? That night, I got another message. Not a call this time, just a text. Same unknown number. We need to meet. Before it's too late. Too late for what? I haven't replied yet. I don't even know if I should. Should I go alone? Should I tell someone? Or is this some kind of trap? Let me ask you, if you were in my place, would you go meet a stranger to find out the truth? Or would you confront your husband first? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you would do. Because something tells me this is only the beginning, and I might not be ready for what's coming next. I didn't sleep again. I just kept staring at that message on my phone. We need to meet. Before it's too late. The words looped in my head like a warning. What did they mean by too late? Too late for what? For me. For him. For us. I didn't know, and that's what made it worse. The not knowing. The way your mind fills in the blanks with the worst possible outcomes. By morning, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for the truth to come to me. I replied to the number. Where and when? The response came within minutes. A location. A time. A coffee shop I'd never been to, just outside the city. Quiet. Out of the way. Perfect for secrets. I told Maya everything. I even shared my location with her, just in case. She didn't like the idea of me going alone, but I had to. I needed to look this mystery in the face, whatever it was. I didn't tell my husband. He thought I was visiting my sister. I even kissed him goodbye that morning like everything was normal. Like I wasn't heading straight into something that could break our whole life apart. The drive felt longer than it was. Every red light made me second-guess myself. Every car behind me made me check the mirror twice. I pulled into the coffee shop parking lot early and sat in the car, watching. Waiting. I didn't know who I was looking for. I didn't know if I'd even recognize them. 15 minutes later, a woman walked in. Mid-30s. Nervous energy. She looked around, spotted me through the window, and nodded. I followed her inside. She didn't say her name. She just slid into the booth and started talking like we were on a timer. I don't have much time, she said. I used to work with your husband. A long time ago. Before he met you. My stomach sank. He wasn't always the man you know. He was part of something complicated. Something risky. He walked away from it. But not everyone else did. Some of the people involved, let's just say they don't forget things easily. I stared at her. What are you saying? She leaned in, voice low. He's not cheating on you. But he's keeping things from you. To protect you. Or at least, that's what he thinks he's doing. But the truth is catching up to him. And you're in it now. Before I could ask anything else, she stood up. Watch who contacts you next. Not everyone wants to help. And just like that, she walked out. I sat there frozen, trying to process what she said. What kind of past was he hiding? What had he been involved in? And what exactly was I in now? That night, I didn't say a word. I acted normal again. But everything felt different. He kissed me like usual, but his hand lingered a second too long on my back, like he knew something was slipping. And then, just as I started to drift off, I heard his phone buzz. One message. One name. L. Who is L? What do you think is really going on? Drop your theories in the comments. Because something tells me, the real story hasn't even started yet. I stared at the name glowing on his screen. L, just a single letter, again. No message preview, no contact photo. Just that cold, empty letter like a code only he understood. I didn't touch his phone. I couldn't. My hands were trembling, and I didn't want to wake him. So I did the only thing I could. I memorized the time it came in. 2:13 a.m. The next morning, I acted like nothing was wrong. I even made breakfast. He was cheerful, like he always is after a good night's sleep. But I couldn't fake the smile anymore. Something had shifted. I was too deep in it now. And now I had more questions than ever. I waited until he left for work. Then I went to the one person who might actually know what all of this meant, his older brother, Raj. They hadn't spoken much in the last year, which I always found odd. But I remembered once, early in our marriage, Raj warned me. He said, just don't ask too many questions. Sometimes it's safer not to know. I thought he was just being dramatic. Now I wasn't so sure. I showed up unannounced. Raj looked surprised, but let me in. I didn't waste time. I asked him straight up, "Who is Elle?" The second I said it, his entire face changed. His jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed. "Where did you hear that name?" I told him everything. The message, the phone call, the woman at the coffee shop. He sat in silence for a moment, then said, "You weren't supposed to be part of this." I asked again, more firmly this time, "Who is Elle?" He looked at me and said something I didn't expect. Elle is not a person. It's a place. It stands for Lockridge. Lockridge? I repeated. He nodded slowly. It's an old name. It's tied to something your husband did a long time ago. A job. A deal that went sideways. He walked away from it, thought he left it behind. But it's coming back. And now they're watching everyone close to him, including you. I felt sick. All this time I thought it was an affair. But it was something bigger. Something dangerous. Something planned. Then Raj said something that chilled me even more. He didn't just walk away. He took something. Something they want back. I had no idea what that meant. Money. Information. Evidence. I didn't know, but I knew one thing: I was in deeper than I ever imagined. And whatever he took, whatever Lockridge really was, someone still wanted it bad enough to send warnings in the middle of the night. On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing: if I wasn't supposed to know about Lockridge, then how long do I have before someone tries to silence me? Tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you do next? Would you confront your husband again? Go to the police? Or would you run, before it's too late? Let me know in the comments, because something's coming, and I can feel it closing in. By the time I got home, my heart was pounding so hard I could barely think straight. I didn't know if I was walking into a trap, or into the arms of a man who thought he was protecting me. Either way, I had to know the truth tonight. No more guessing. No more silence. He was already home. Sitting on the couch, phone in his hand. He looked up at me like nothing was wrong. Like our lives hadn't been turned upside down. I didn't even take off my shoes. I walked straight up to him and said it out loud, "I know about Lockridge." For a second, everything stopped. His face didn't change, not right away. But his eyes gave it away. The shock. The fear. And then, the quiet resignation. He stood up slowly. "Who told you? Does it matter?" I said. "You've been lying to me for months. Maybe years." He ran his hands through his hair, pacing the room. "It wasn't supposed to touch you. That's why I kept it quiet. That's why I did everything I could to bury it." I asked him what Lockridge really was. He finally told me. Years ago, before we met, he worked with a group technically legal, but morally grey. They handled sensitive data for companies, and sometimes people, who didn't want things traced. Lockridge was a server, a private vault where everything was stored: names, deals, blackmail files. He helped build it. But he also made a copy. A safety net. He never thought he'd need it, until he found out they were using the data to destroy people's lives. That's when he left. Took his copy. Disappeared. Changed everything. But someone found him. The woman who met me. She used to be part of the group. She turned whistleblower. She wanted to help him expose Lockridge once and for all, but they caught on. That's why she warned me. That's why they were watching us. I asked him, "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked at me, voice low. "Because if you knew, you'd be in danger. And now, you are." Just then, His phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. But this time, it wasn't just L. It was an address. A demand. 1 hour. Or they'd release the files and come for both of us. We had no time. He grabbed the old key I'd found earlier, the one I now knew led to a safety deposit box. Inside it. The backup. The files. Everything. We drove in silence. Fast. My heart racing. We were about to face the very people he'd been running from. We got to the location, an abandoned building on the edge of town. He told me to stay in the car. But I didn't. I followed him in, staying low. And what I saw, I still don't know how to explain it. He wasn't meeting them to negotiate. He was handing the files to someone I never expected. Maya. My best friend. She looked at me, surprised. You weren't supposed to see this. Tell me, did she betray me the whole time? Or is she deeper in this than even he knows? Comment what you think happened next. Because I swear, this story's not over. Final part, story wrap-up, 500 words. I stood frozen, staring at Maya. My best friend. The one I ran to when I first felt something was off. The one I trusted with everything. Now here she was, in the middle of the mess I thought only belonged to my husband. And suddenly, all the small things I'd ignored started to make sense, how she always asked just the right questions, how she was quick to suggest I dig deeper, how she knew where to push. Maya stepped forward, calm but cold. I didn't plan to lie to you. But once I knew you were involved, I had to make sure you didn't get hurt. You could have told me, I said, barely getting the words out. She shook her head. You wouldn't have believed me. And you needed to see it for yourself. My husband stepped between us, his face tense. So what now? She looked at him, then at me. Now we end this. Together. Turns out, Maya was working undercover. Not for the police, but for a private group trying to take Lockridge down from the inside. They'd been after the backup files my husband had hidden away, proof of illegal transactions, high-level corruption, and personal data used for manipulation. She used me to get closer, yes, but she also protected me. When the anonymous texts came in, she was the one who intercepted them. When I was told to meet that woman in the coffee shop, Maya arranged it. She wasn't the villain. She was the last piece of the puzzle. With the files secured, Maya's team was able to shut down the Lockridge servers permanently. A full-scale investigation followed. Names came out, powerful people. It became a news story, a scandal that rocked certain industries. But none of that mattered to me as much as what happened between us, me and him. We had to rebuild from scratch. Trust doesn't come back easy. But we were honest now. No more secrets. We moved out of the city, took time off. We started fresh. And Maya? She left quietly, like she was never there. We haven't spoken since. But part of me thinks she still watches over us, just in case. Looking back, it wasn't just about lies or danger. It was about love, choice, and what we're willing to risk for the truth. So now I ask you, if you found out someone close to you had been living a double life, could you forgive them? Could you start again? Let me know in the comments. If you want a sequel, Maya's side of the story, drop a fire and tell me. Because her truth might be even darker than ours.